Hello everyone, welcome back to the session on your virtual memory management. So today we will try to cover the third unit of your operating system, that is nothing but virtual memory management technique. Okay, so today we'll be wrapping up this. So in the previous session we discussed about the techniques, that is nothing but the page replacement techniques, what we do have related to your virtual memory management. So that is nothing but your FIFO, and then we discussed about something called as optimal, and then we have discussed about LRU, least recently used. And when we were discussing about least recently used algorithm, we said that hardware support need to be provided in order to execute that particular algorithm. So for that purpose, we have used some two different concepts here, something hardware devices, something called as counter, right? So we have used something called as counter. Another one is what we have discussed about stack. So we can use any one of them in order to execute that particular LRU technique. So basically, in counter, what we are going to do, the counter is used in order to increment the values. Okay, so whichever is having the value, we will keep on incrementing, and based on that, whichever is having the lowest value, we'll try to just eliminate that. Similarly, we can use stack. In the stack, we are saying that we will be using a double linked list stack because we may require that an element has to be removed from the middle of that particular stack. So whenever we want to remove an element from the middle, it's possible only if you are using a double linked list concept it up, and that's the reason we have used that. In this session, we will try to complete the remaining algorithms. Well, basically, these three are not the only algorithms we do have in order to perform this page replacement. We also have other techniques. So that techniques we are going to discuss here. But practically, we are not going to see any kind of problematic things related to this. This is just only for the knowledge representation that we should have a knowledge regarding the other algorithms, how they exactly work. For that, we are going to discuss. The very first thing what we have here is something called as LRU approximation page replacement. Well, basically we already discussed about LRU. LRU is nothing but least recently used algorithm, right? So in the least recently used algorithm, what is the verb? I mean, the statement we have taken is that we will be replacing the particular page that is not being used from beginning. Okay, so whichever will not been used from a longer duration, that we will try to remove it. That we have already seen. And basically, we said that it requires something called as additional hardware support, something called as counters, and apart from counters, we also discussed about something called as stack. Now here what we are going to do is we will just see the advanced version of this LRU, that is what we are seeing here. So in this case what happens, many of the systems actually generally provide support, hardware support in order to execute this particular placement, but some systems doesn't provide. So whichever system is not providing this support, hardware support for this placement, I mean this particular algorithm to get executed, there we can use other kind of algorithms such as FIFO. Wherever the hardware support is not provided, we might be using FIFO page replacement algorithm and just perform the task. But some systems provide help in other way. What is the other way here is nothing but we call it as a reference bit. Now here within the page table, every entry for a particular page, there will be a reference bit associated with that particular page. Something like, in the page table, we people are usually writing. We have already discussed many times. This is your page. This is the frame number, right? This is the page number, frame number. Along with this, you will be having a reference bit, valid, invalid, we have seen. We also call it as modify bit and all. Same way here, this is what he is referring it as now reference bit. So in this scenario, he is calling that particular thing as reference bit. And what he's saying exactly here is, every page will have its own reference bit. And this reference bit can take only two values, that is 0 or 1, because it's a hardware support, so hardware can understand only one language, that is your binary language, zeros and ones. Now here initially whenever that particular all the pages are there and no pages actually preferred, okay, or referred in order to store in your main memory, they are being represented with 0. Initially all the pages which are not been actually brought up into your main memory, that is your RAM, all those pages are initially referred as 0. Now whenever one particular page is referred, then we will be setting the reference bit of that particular page as 1. Okay, so what does this indicate is nothing but with the help of this we'll come to know that which pages have been referred by the system and which pages are not been used. Since we have seen in the previous videos that a process might be having 10 pages, right? We have seen one example, something like this. A process is having a 10 pages. But in order to perform the task, whatever this process is having, it requires only 5 pages among those 10 pages. What about the remaining pages? That 10 remaining 5 pages are actually present in your backing store. What about these? These are also present in the backing store. But in order to get this particular process execution, we are bringing them these particular 5 pages from the backing store into your main memory, isn't it? But wait, what about the remaining 5? Those are already present in this backing store. We are not bringing them in because only with the help of the 5 pages, we are able to complete the task that this process wants to execute. Well, in this way, we can come to know that how which pages have been referred and which pages have not been referred. That we can we can easily identify from this particular scenario. But we remember that with the use of the reference bit, we can determine which page we have referred and which page we did not refer. But we will not be able to get the order. We will not be able to get any order the way the pages are referred. Like you cannot say that whether page 1 is referred and then page 2 is referred next and then page 3 is referred, or page 2 is referred first, page 3 next and then page 1. We cannot exactly say which page has been referred first with the help of this particular concept called as reference bit. But yes, we can come to know whether that particular page is referred or not, that we can identify. But the order in which, the sequence in which that particular page is referred, we cannot determine. So to overcome that only, we are using a second kind of algorithm related to your LRU. That is nothing but the second chance algorithm. Okay, but before that, we have a similar concept here, small concept related to how to determine the order. Here is nothing but he is saying, I'll explain this with the help of a small example. Now, in this case, what is saying that for every page, we will be using, okay, so every page we will be using a 8-bit byte address. We will be using a 8-bit byte for every page we are accessing. 8 bits, I think you can understand. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now every bit represents one time period. Every bit will represent one time period. Okay. So means this is one time period, this is another. Let us, for your simplicity, let us assume this is 1 second, 2 seconds, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, for 8 seconds. For every page, we will be allocating a 8-bit byte, and that bit byte means every bit in that particular byte. So why we are calling 8-bit is nothing but every byte actually is allocating 1 byte to a page, and that byte is equal to how many bits? 8 bits. Means 8 time intervals he is showing here. So here what is saying that whenever one particular page is referred, so we will be having a timer interrupt here. This timer interrupt, whenever it interrupts, this will give access to the operating system. It will give the control to the operating system. Now what this control, the operating system will do, whichever page is referred, okay, it will try to shift these particular bits towards right. One bit towards right means we know that this is something we call it as I think this is what we call it as least significant bit, right? And this is what we call it as MSB, most significant bit. So we will be trying from lower order to higher order. How we can convert a this particular bit from higher to lower? By shifting one bit towards right here. So whenever this particular, let us suppose if we are taking this page only, this page is referred now. So it will become something like as 1. So it will be something like 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So what happens? This bit is got eliminated, and here I have added 1. Okay. So the operating system will shift one bit towards right, making it a higher order. So next time, so means within one time period, at least one time period, this particular page has been referred. Now after in the second time period, let us suppose again that particular page is referred, then it will become something 1, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You can see this is got eliminated and we have simply added 1 here. Okay. And in the next time period again, this particular page is getting access. So then it becomes 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I think you people are getting understanding, right? So whenever that particular page is accessed in a particular period, then automatically we will be shifting one bit towards right, like this. So whatever the least significant bit we are having, we'll simply eliminate that and we'll add one here. Okay, so this is the way how we can keep. Now here what he means to say, in this way, can we keep a track that whether that means which particular page is referred first and later? Yes, it's possible. Let us suppose that we have got a value something like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, and this is one page which has been referred. Now, and I got another value, something called as 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, something. Now, can you people tell me which one is preferred most recently? This just now, which one is referred, and which one is the one which referred before? Well, we can say P2 is the one which is referred recently. Why? You can see here the most significant bit here we are having 1, whereas coming to this is having something called as 0. So that indicates that P2 was accessed most recently, and before that P1 was accessed. Okay, this is the one which is accessed just now, and this is the one which was accessed before. Okay, so this way we can identify. And if we can convert this into an unsigned integer, if we can convert that into an unsigned integer, so the value which is having the lowest number, so the value which has the lowest number is the page which we will be replacing. The lowest value page. So whenever we are converting this particular, I think you people know how we can convert this. Can you convert this into binary? It's possible, isn't it? So this is 0 into 2 to the power 0 plus 1 into 2 to the power 1 plus 1 into 2 to the power 2, so on. Okay, like you have 1, 1, 0, 0. How can I write 0 into 2 to the power 0? So plus this 0. So 0 into 2 to the power 1. So 1 into 2 to the power 2, 1 into 2 to the power 3. So whatever the value you are getting, that is the. So here what is saying, if you are able to convert that into an unsigned integer, the lowest value whichever is having, that is the page we need to replace. This is the page that we need to replace. So that is the whole concept related to your reference bits. Okay. Now, to perform more additional related to that, what these people are exactly going to do is they started using something called second chance algorithm. Second chance. So here, what do you mean by second chance? It is nothing but whenever we try to select a page from a frame to be eliminated or to be removed from the particular frame, here the second chance algorithm gives a second chance to that particular page. Which page means depending upon the reference bit here. Here also we are going to use the reference bit. Now, so whenever one particular, we need to find a page that need to be replaced with a new page within a frame, then what the system does, it will try to find where which frame we should take as a victim, which frame we need to select as a victim. So whenever it selects a page, first its reference bit is actually identified. First its reference bit is identified. If the reference bit is set to 0, then that means we can replace that particular page. Remember that. So it's very clear. Second chance means whenever the reference bit of a page is set to 0, then that page can be replaced with a new page whichever is coming up. But in case if the reference bit is set to 1, then we cannot replace that particular page. Rather, we are giving that page a second chance. Okay, you can continue execution since your reference means it is just brought recently within the system and there are modifications done to it. And if we want to remove that particular page, what will happen? Definitely we need to update that in our memory, your backing store, and that's again a hectic task. Swapping in and swapping out, it will take a lot of time. So here, wherever the reference bit is set to 1, that indicates that that particular page has been brought most recently, and even the modifications are done to that particular page. So here, what the system does is it will give a second chance to this particular page. Okay, so that particular page, what it will do, it is giving a second chance that okay, you continue execution, but next time whenever I am selecting you as a victim, then definitely I'm going to remove you from this particular place, I mean that particular frame, and that frame will be allocated to some other page. And whenever a second chance is given to a particular page, then that particular reference bit is set to 0. So that next time when it is coming, it can remove it up. I will show you in picture, I mean diagrammatically, so that it becomes easy for you to understand. Yeah, that's the diagram what we do have. If you see here in this particular diagram, in the second chance algorithm, what happens? We do have a pointer here. Okay. Now, what is the task of this particular pointer is determining a particular bit or reference bit which we can select in order to replace that particular page. Okay. So what happens here? Initially, the pointer is referring to this particular page. Let us suppose. Now here the bit is 0. So immediately this particular page can be replaced with the new page. Means a new page can be uploaded. These are the frame, okay, pages. So this page can be eliminated and the new page can be provided here. Same way here also. Now, but when the system is coming to this particular location, when the system came to this, so the pointer when it came to the next victim, something called this one, what happened suddenly? The reference bit is actually set to 1, not 0. So what does that mean? This particular page will be given a second chance to the system. Means it will say, okay, you continue, carry on continuing execution here. Why? Because just now it has been brought here and at the same time the modifications are done to this page. Now if you remove this page has to be updated in the backing store. So swap out, swap in. It will take some time. So system will not make this part. It will not select this as a victim. It will go to the next one. But before going to this particular frame, it will make it as a 0. It will make the reference bit as 0. Means next time whenever it is coming after this entire cycle, it can remove this particular page. Okay. But first time whenever it is visiting, what is the value we have here? 1. So this particular page will not be removed and it is given a second chance that you keep on executing. Okay. But this reference bit will be set to 0. Then it comes to the next page. Okay. The next page is also having 1, means it will be given a second chance now. So it is also given a second chance. You keep on doing the work. Now the bit is referred as 0. Then it will go to the next pointer, will go to the next page, that is 0. Okay, the reference bit is set to 0. So this page will be replaced. So we will swap out. See, reference bit 0 indicates that there is no modifications done to that particular page and it is there from very long duration. So we can remove this page and whatever the new page is coming, that we can insert into this particular frame. Okay, again when it will come to here, this is one setup. So it will not remove it. It will give a second chance to this and this it will make it as 0. Then it will go to move. And remember, we are going to use a circular queue of pages for this particular approximation algorithm. Second chance algorithm, whatever we are using for LRU, we will be using a circular queue because once this is completed, again it will come back to the beginning. Now if you see, if there is a 0 here, it can be replaced. 0 replaced. Now if you see here, this page, it is 0, means this page can be replaced now. In this way, the entire cycle means your second chance algorithm works. And sometimes it is also called as clock replacement. Means whenever if you remember, whenever we are making this a 0, even the timer is set to 0. Means just now it has arrived. That is what indicated. And from there, the timer will start counting. So this is what we have something called as second chance algorithm. Okay. Okay. The next one, what we have is nothing but an improvised version of your second chance algorithm. We call it as enhanced second chance algorithm. Well, here what we are going to do is we are going to use a pair. A pair usually consists of two sets. So here we will be consisting of two things, something called as reference bit. I think you are familiar with the reference bit. We already discussed just now. And apart from that, we have one more thing called as modify bit. I think, I don't know how many of you remember this. We have discussed in the previous session, modify bit. We also call it as a dirty bit. If you don't remember, just visit my previous video so that you can understand. So we also call this as a dirty bit, modify bit or dirty bit. What is the main purpose of identifying this is nothing but same, similar to the reference bit only. So it will identify that whether the page which is present in the frame, did we modify anything within the page or not. If it is modified, then that has to be uploaded in your backing store. Like for example, we have a RAM here and we have a page 1 here. Okay, and if the bit modify bit is set to 1, that indicates that this particular page is modified. Now, whenever we want to remove this particular page, first we need to update in this particular backing store, that location where this particular P1 is present. We need to update it. And once we are updating it, then only we can remove this particular page. That is what I means to say modify bit. Reference bit is used to identify whether that particular page is accessed or not. Okay, if it is accessed, definitely. So here what is saying, first we will try to find out whether that particular page is accessed or not. If it is accessed, does we do any modification to that particular page? That we are determining using this pair. Now, since there are in a pair we do have two sets. I mean, in a pair we know that we do have two values, right? So how many combinations we'll get is nothing but 2 to the power 2, that is 4 combinations. So these are the 4 combinations we do have here. So one is something called 0 comma 0, another is 0 comma 1, next 1 comma 0 and 1 comma 1. So what do you mean by 0 comma 0? This is the reference bit and this is the modified bit. So first we'll see the reference. So what does that mean? That this particular page, if the page, if any of the page, let us suppose page 1 is set the value as 0 comma 0, that means this particular page is never used, means it is present in the backing store. Okay, it is never brought into the main memory for execution, and moreover it is never modified. Obviously if it is present in the backing store, how we can perform modification to that particular page? We can't do it, because in order to make modification, that should be brought into your RAM. So that is not done. So this is the best page to replace. So we can replace this place easily. Okay, that is what he means to say in this condition. And the next one, what is saying that 0 comma means it is not used recently. Okay, it is not used recently, but yes, it is modified. Now, what does that mean is within your RAM, that particular page is existing here, but this page has not been used recently. It has been used long back, and now no one is using it. Is just simply sitting in that particular frame. Okay, and but the thing is, it is modified. So whenever you want to remove this particular P1, definitely we need to update in the backing store, wherever that location, that particular process is there, we need to update that. That is what he's saying in this particular scenario. Okay, so that is what he's saying. So it is not a quite good option for replacement, because we need to update it, then only we can replace. But if we don't have any alternative, definitely we need to use this option. Next one is 1 comma 0, means 1 represent that reference bit, means it is most recently used, just now it has been used. So if it is used but there is no modifications done to it, well, and moreover, if you remember the second chance algorithm, second chance, what is previous one, what we did say, if the reference bit is set to 1, we give a second chance. That is what it's saying. If the reference bit is 1 here, we will be giving a second chance. That is what is representing. Probably will be used again soon. Why is saying that? Because the reference bit is set to 1. So this will be given a second chance in order to execute it. Okay, I hope it's very clear. The next one, what we have here is nothing but 1 comma 1. So here what we are doing is both are 1s, right? So it means recently it is used, and at the same time it has been modified most recently. So what does that mean? So it may be, since the reference bit is set, it will be given a second chance and it will be executed again. So probably will be used again, and there will be some modifications already done to that particular page. So before next time, after the second chance, whenever we want to remove that page, first we need to update that page in the backing store, and then only we can try to modify. So this is all. This is the whole scenario that is related to your enhanced second chance algorithm. Now, apart from that, we also have other kind of algorithms in order to perform this page replacement. Okay. So what exactly they have is nothing but we have something called LFU, like least recently used we have seen. This is something least frequently used. Now here we will be using something called as counter, and this counter will keep on incrementing. Means what is the main idea behind LFU algorithm here is that whenever one particular page is accessed, the counter of that particular page will increment. So the number of times this particular page is accessed, that many times the counter will be incremented by 1. For example, if the page is accessed 10 times, the counter value will be 10 times. Same way, if the page 2 is accessed for 8 times, the counter value of this one will be 8. If you take P3, it is accessing for 9 times, the counter value will be 9. Now, how this algorithm works is, the one which is having the smallest count, that will be replaced. So which one is having the smallest here? P2. As you see here, we have, okay, fine, I'll explain with the help of a small example. Suppose we have a page 1. Okay, page 1 has been accessed around 15 times. I think you can understand how it is coming. Like I gave you the reference strings 1, 0, 1, 2, 5, 2, 6, 3, 2, 3. If you see here, how many times the page 2 is been referred? 1, 2, 3. So what is the, okay, so the counter value for 1 will be something like this is the reference strings are provided. So here we have 2 1. Then the counter value for 0, we have only 1. What about the counter value for 5? We are having 1. And what about the 2? What is the counter value for 2? We have 3. Then counter value for 3 is 1. Okay, let us make it as 3. So this becomes 2. And what about 5? We will make one more 5 here. So this becomes 2. Now to see here which one is having the least value for the counter, that page we will try to replace. So we have a value something called 0. So 0 will be replaced with the next new page whichever is coming up. So this is the way how this particular LFU works. I hope it's very clear. Okay, so based upon the counter value, what it will do, it will keep on asking. Let's if we take a small example. Okay, let me explain it so that it becomes easy. Like I'm taking some string, some random string. It's not a peculiar one. So 101 202 1011. So let us take I'm selecting 3 frames now. Okay. So I'm trying to get a 3 frames I'm going to use here. This is a rough example I'm providing. So least frequently is how it works 1. So this is your LFU, least frequently used. So 1, 0, 1. So it is already present here. We are not going to use. Now what is till here? What is the counter value of 1 here? So okay, fine. Let me write it here. So for 1, the counter value till this location is 2. For 0, the counter value is 1. Okay, now I want to add 2 now. So can I add 2 here? Yes, it's possible to add 2 here because we do have empty slots, right? So here we have one. I mean this one is not there, right? Yeah, sorry. Okay. So 1 0 and then I'm writing 1 0 2. So if you see here, okay, I just replace few values here. So it will be like 5, 3, 2, 4. So what happens here? 102 is there. Okay, this one is there. Now coming to the 5. Let's come to 5. Now till here, what is the counter value for 0 now? The counter value for 0 is 2. And for 1 it is 2. And for 2 it is 1. Now I want to place 5 now. We don't have empty slots because the slots are filled. I need to determine one of the files. So which one we can eliminate now? So we will see the counter value. So if you see the counter value of 2, it is 1. What about 1 here? It is 2. And for 0, the counter value is 2. So both are 2. And this is the one which is having least. So I will be replacing page 2 with page 5. So this will be 5, 1, 0, 3. So what is the counter value for 5 right now here? 1. Now I want to place 3 now. So we see here, what is the counter value of 1? 2. 0 also the counter value is 2. But whereas coming to 5, the counter value is 1. So I am going to replace the lowest counter value whichever is having, that is 5. So I replace page 5 with page 3, 1, 0, 3. Now I want to place 2 now. So which one I can remove? Obviously 3 is the one because 3 came first time. So it is the counter value is 1. So I will replace 3. So 1, 0, 2. But 2, now the counter value has become 2 because it has been coming second time. I want to remove 4. So which one I need to remove? So if you see here 1 is having 2, 0 is having 2, 2 is having 2. Which one to remove? Since all the counter values are same, we can follow FIFO method and we can try to eliminate which one is there. If you see here, the 1 is the one which is most there. So I'll remove that 4, 0, 2. This is the way how your LFU works. I hope it's very clear for you people. Okay. So this is the way. Means based upon the counter value, whenever we are accessing, once we are storing that, whenever we coming to that particular base, then only the counter has to be incremented. And whichever the counter value is less we are having, that particular base we need to replace. That is LFU. Okay. So that comes under your LFU. Similarly, most frequently used, okay, well, that is also related to that. Means whichever, here what exactly we are going to do is, we'll try to replace the page with the smallest count. Okay. But, sorry, here we are going to get a page which is having the smallest count into the frame. Okay. And it has not been used, it will be used. That is what we call most frequently used algorithm. The one which we are not using, not used till now, recently we brought it. So that is that particular page we brought it just now, and it is having the lowest. So counter value will be the lowest, and that particular page we will be executing. That comes under most frequently. Indirectly, what I mean to say, this is the reverse of your inversely proportional to your least frequently used algorithm. Okay. So LFU, they may ask questions, problems related to your LFU. So you better be practice whatever the questions I gave you. You just work out for LFU also. How to work it, I told you. So in the same way you prepare. So we'll be keeping a counter. That counter will keep on incrementing it. So if we get a perfect value, means whichever counter is highest, whenever we want to replace a page within a frame, so whichever page is having the lowest number, counter. Okay, so the counter value is lowest, that particular page we will be replacing. Okay, so let's get ahead of it. Yeah, the next algorithm what we have is a page buffering algorithm. Well, this is also used for something called as for page replacement only. But here it is a slightest different technique they are going to use. Okay, what is the technique they are going to use here is nothing but they will maintain, actually internally the system will maintain a pool of frames, free frames. Okay, so let me show you with the diagram. Okay, so here what exactly in buffering, what page pool buffering, what it is going to do is we actually have this is your main memory, right? And some portion is actually occupied by your operating system and remaining is used by the user processes, right? Now this we are dividing into fixed number of frames. Now in page pooling, what we are going to do is we'll use some frames, we'll keep aside some pool of frames. Okay, nothing but the set of frames. We are going to keep it aside. Okay, whenever we want to replace a page, whenever we want to replace a page from this main memory, so we will first try, because this memory is full right now. Right now, this all the frames whatever we have are full, occupied by different processes. I'm just giving sequentially, but don't think that internally sequentially they are going to store. Just random I'm giving. Okay. So here you see this particular, this is full. Now page 7 came. I want to allocate it. In the previous strategies, what we used to do, the system will try to select a victim, which one to replace. Let us suppose I want to replace page 1. So what I will do first, I will first remove this particular page. This page 1, I am going to remove it. Okay, so how here I am going to remove it? I have a backing store here. So I will swap out that page 1 in this particular location. Then I make it free and then this P7 is allocated to that particular. Means this P7 is present here in the backing store. I am now swapping in that particular P7 and P1 is swapped out. Isn't it? This is the way how it works. But whereas coming to previous techniques, what we have discussed. But in page pool buffering, what he's saying is we will keep empty spaces. Let me draw it again once. So this is your operating system. So we have P1 here, P2, P3. Okay, and these are frames are empty. Now, in from the backing store, I need to get a new page, something called P4. Now, this P4 means whenever you want to bring it up, so what we have to do is forget about this particular. Right now, the system is full. This we have kept it as a pool of frames, right? These are pool of frames. These are not allocated directly. Only these are the frames which are utilized in real time. So whenever this particular page, new page is coming, I need to upload into your main memory. So what I have to do, I have to find a victim from these three pages. Let us suppose P2 is the victim which I want to replace it. In this technique, what we did, we removed swapped out, swapped in. But here, what the pool of frames technique, what it is going to work out with is, it will not first directly remove this particular P2. It has selected that this is the victim, I want to remove it. But before removing that, it will allocate this P4 to one of the free frame that is present here, P4. Okay, one of the free frame, whatever is there, P4 will be allocated to that. So because he don't want this particular process to wait for execution. Okay, that's why he has given from the free pool of frames, whatever we are having, one of the frame he has given to this particular page of a respective process to execute. And once this is executing it, then the particular system, I mean the system will try to remove this P2. That is nothing but swapping out. So it will swap out that and it will allocate here P2. Now this empty space will be brought back here into down to this particular pool. So again it will be color. So it will go top, like this is P3, P4, and again this becomes a free pool. Again this we are getting a free pool here. Okay, this is the way how your system exactly works. So what happened here, immediately without means for not performing swapping in and swapping out, it will allocate from the free space whatever is available to that respective process so that it can start executing its task. In the meantime, when all are executing it, then the CPU will try to remove that victim, whichever is selected. It will store the information back into the backing store, and then that memory is again added to this particular pool. And whenever a new process comes, again memory is allocated from this pool. Then the victim is selected, remove that victim, and again bring that pool. So this is the way the cycle exactly works. So that is what been exactly represented in your page buffering algorithm. I hope it's very clear with this. That is what been explained in this scenario. And then we have the most important, the next topic, what we have is allocation of frames. Well, we have from the beginning, most typical thing, what we have, what the question we do have in our minds is, so how we can allocate the frames. Okay, let us suppose I have two different processes here, P1 and P2. Let us suppose that I have 62 frames. I have 62 frames here, and there are only two processes which are executing in the system. Basically, how many frames need to be allocated? So if we talk in a simple scenario, what we can do, we can simply divide equal share. We can give equally the frames to process 1 and process 2. Okay, so how many the process 1 is going to get here? So if you look at here, process 1, 62 are there. 62 by 2 means 31. So I think process P1 will get 31 frames and process P2 will get 32 frames. Well, that's okay. I don't mind. But now let us consider that the process 1 P1 is having a size of 10 KB and the process P2 is having a size of 127 KB. Okay, just the assumption. The process P1 is having a size of 10 KB, means how many pages he is going to access? Let us assume he is going to access only 10 pages. Okay, and whereas coming to process P2, he is having 127 KB. So let us assume that 127 pages he wants. Within means 127 pages means 127 frames are required. P1 requires only 10 pages for execution means 10 frames are quite sufficient. But how many we have allocated here for the P1? 31 means out of 31 he is utilizing 10 frames. What about the remaining 21? We are simply wasting that particular 21 by allocating that to the process P1. He is not going to utilize it because the size of that particular process is very less, 10 KB. And mostly he might be using 10 pages, not more than that. And whereas coming to process P2, he is having a little bit huge, memory, right? 127 KB, man. That means it might be using 127 pages. But what we are doing, we are equally sharing. Is it justifiable? Yes, it's not. Isn't it? It's not justifiable. So here, this is the typical question here is how we can allocate the frames to this particular process. Okay, so here what is saying, he has actually provided two different type of methods. One is fixed allocation, another is priority. So based upon the priority, we can allocate the frames. Based upon fixed allocations, we can do it. How I will tell you. You please remember the example what I shown you here. The same example we will be seeing in your fixed allocation scheme. Okay, this is the basic scheme what we are going to use. Okay. Okay, so let me take a board here so that I can explain here. Okay, let's take the same example. Let us assume that we have a total frame. So how many frames we do have here? I'll explain you first problematically, then we'll go to the formula. So how many frames? The total frames, how many we have here? 62 frames we are having. And how many processes I told you? We have two processes, P1 and P2. If we consider the first one, the size of the process P1 is 10 KB and the size of the process P2 is 127 KB. So if you go to the first strategy, what we'll do, we'll divide them into half. The frames will be divided into half, means 31 frames to P1 and 31 frames to P2. But basically what we understood is this P1 requires only 10 pages, right? P1 requires only 10 pages and we understood that it is not justifiable to provide 10 pages this particular process requires. And whereas coming to P2, it requires 127 pages. Now you can see that it is really not justifiable to allocate 31 pages because the remaining 21 pages are getting wasted here. That is the main problem here. So how we can allocate here is nothing but he is asking you people to use a strategy called proportional allocation. Proportional allocation. So what even be proportional allocation is nothing but whatever the pages this particular page requires, first you sum, you get the value of S. S is nothing but the summation of the virtual pages this particular processes require. So how many pages P1 requires? 10 pages plus how many pages P2 requires? 127 pages. So the total virtual memory pages this particular entire processor require is 137. And this is nothing but how I am going to represent as sigma small s I. This is a capital S, this is small s. Okay, small si is nothing but it's a virtual summation of the virtual memory required by the individual process. The process P1 requires 10 pages, 10 plus the process means the pages required by P2, virtual pages is 12 pages. So I mean 127 pages. So 127 plus 10 is 137. So S value you people got it. Okay. Now let us suppose we have M frames. How many frames we have? M frames. So in our problem, how many frames we have? M is equal to 62 frames. And among this, let us suppose you people, we are allocating AI. Okay. We are allocating AI frames. Okay. To one process. AI frames to all processes, different processes. So here the suffix I represents which process? A1 means process 1 is allocated. Suppose it is 10, 1 means 10 pages are allocated to the process 1. If I write something like 21, so 20 pages are allocated to the process 1. That way it comes under. Now what is saying AI frames? Okay, let me write it again. It's not perfect. AI frames we are sharing among different processes P1, P2. Okay, so this AI we need to determine how many frames we can allocate to process P1, P2. The formula here given is AI is equal to small si by capital S into the total number of frames. I think you people might have understood. Now, is it possible for you to solve the problem which I gave you? Yes, it's possible, right? Small si. So let us take process P1. So what does that mean? How many frames for the process P1? A1 equal to S small s. Okay. So how we can write it? Small si by capital S into M. That many frames. So what is the value of small si here? I think you might have understood till now. This is your small s1. S1, this is a S2, and that's what we are representing as mathematically SI. So here SI is nothing but 10. So we are talking about S1, process 1. So how many pages S1 is having? 10. So 10 by 137. So capital S, how much we got? 137 into the number of frames. How many frames we have? 62. So 62. So it is almost approximately 4 frames. If you solve it, you're going to get the value approximately something 3 point something, that is nothing but 4 frames. Means for the process P1, this time I am not going to allocate 31. As per the calculations, I am going to allocate only 4 frames depending upon its size. And what about the process P2 then? Same. So P2 equal to S2. S2 by capital S into M. So what is the value of S2 we have here? 127. So 127 by 137 into 62. So this is almost approximately, if you do it up, you will be getting something called as 57, if I'm not wrong. Okay, approximately you might be getting 57 frames. Okay, so this time as per the size, I have allocated around 57 frames to process P2. And what about process P1? I have allocated 4 frames. I think you people might have understood what exactly we are doing. This is the way how it exactly works. So based upon the size of a particular process, we will be allocating the pages. And most over, if I'm not wrong, this is much more justifiable than the previous one. There is no wastage of frames, right? Total 62 we are having. How many we have allocated? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 1, 1. So 61 frames we have allocated, still 1 frame we are left. And this we will be placing in the pool. Okay, so that is what been actually referred here, free frame pool. Okay. I hope it's very clear with this, and that's what been explained here in this particular scenario. Clear? Forget about this. This is the formula. What I told you, SI by S into M. So how many frames we need to allocate here? SI. Small SI is nothing but the size of a particular process. So sigma SI means this is the summation of the multiple processes that are ready for execution. M is the total number of frames. So using this we can determine. So it is approximately 457 what we people got. And this is the way how we can try to allocate the frames to the respective processes. Let's come back to, okay, let's go to the next part. That is what fixed allocation. Priority allocation will be purely based on priority. For whichever is having the lowest priority, we'll try to reduce or will give less number of frames to that. Highest priority will be given higher number of frames. Now, apart from that, we have based upon this page replacement techniques, what we are using, we have allocation strategies here. So we have two different type of allocation strategies: global versus local. So what do you mean by global replacement and what we mean by local replacement? Let's see. It's very simple. Global replacement is nothing but here, since we are allocating, let us take the previous example. The process P1 is allocated how many frames? 4 frames. Whatever the process P2, 57 frames we have allocated. Now, if you people are applying a global replacement algorithm to these particular processes, what does this mean is that this particular page P1 can try to access the frame of a process P2. See, I think you people are getting it. See, please remember what I'm saying. Whenever the process is executing, actually we have already allocated process P1 4 frames. Means using this 4 frames, he has to perform the operation. And process P2 should use 57 frames in order to perform the execution. But if you are applying a global replacement technique, then what happens here? The process P1, even the allocated 4 frames, this process can try to access the frames of a process P2. Yes, even the P2 is allocated 57 frames. Still, this particular process can try to access the frame of a process P1. Okay, means 57 is allocated. It may try to access a frame of this particular page. Means it will become 58 now. Okay, in that way they can access and they can perform the operation. That is what we call it as a global replacement. But due to this, what happens now? We do have certain drawbacks here. What is the drawback here is the execution time will increase. Why? Because you are trying to access a page of a P1. How many pages are left? P1 is having 3 pages. So 3 pages, he has to make sure that 10 pages are using 10 pages, he has to work out using 3 frames. It's highly typical, right? So what exactly is going to happen is nothing but the page fault will increase. The page fault will increase. You may say, sir, okay, he is using 58 now, then process P2 is executing. Well, we don't know which one is actually accessing. There might be a scenario that the process P1 might be trying to access P2, like, four frames we allocated. It might be additionally 4 it is accessing from P2. So what happens? There is a shortage of 4 means if using 53 he is executing, and maybe 53 is not sufficient for this particular process. That many pages, I mean, frames are not sufficient. So that case, what happens? Swapping out, swapping it means page fault will take a lot of page faults will take place. So when the page faults are increasing, we already know that the system performance will start decreasing, and this is what the whole thing happening in this particular scenario. Then we have something called as a local replacement technique here. So if you talk about the local replacement technique, this is somewhat, this is the one which we exactly going to follow here. So when the page process P1 is allocated 4 frames and the P2 is allocated 57, so whenever the process want to access a new frame, he can access within this particular allocated frame. Means he cannot try to access a frame from a next process. And same way the P2 cannot try to access a frame from the P1. That is what called as local replacement. Means whatever the pages this particular process P1 want to replace, he has to do it within this particular 4 frames only. And whatever the replacement, the page replacement this particular process want to do, he can do it only from within this particular 57 frames what these people are having. Apart from that, they cannot try to access other frames. I hope it's very clear till here. That is what we call it as global versus local allocation. Then we have something called non-uniform memory access. Well, this is also related to a type of a system where the speed of accessing a memory will vary every time. It's not that there will be consistent speed will be maintained here. Every time the speed will keep on varying. Like for example, for your system, you may be adding multiple CPUs and performing the operation. So what will happen? Since you are adding multiple CPUs, the speed will increase. Why? We have a lot of memory there, lot of main RAM memory is there, hard disk is there. So automatically your speed will keep on increasing. So here the effective access time is not perfect. It will keep on fluctuating like something like no high, low in this way. It will keep on fluctuating. That is what we call it as NUMA, non-uniform memory access. So to overcome this particular problem, the Solaris operating system company has created something called as iGroup. This is what we call it as latency group. We call it as a latency group. So wherever latency is nothing but delay. So wherever there is a delay there, we'll group it into one particular set and they will be allocated slowly the processes. So that means memory so that they can start executing it. Okay. So mostly it is used by the schedulers and pages. I think you people know what do you mean by pager here. Nothing but in swapping concept we discussed lazy swapper, demand paging. So lazy swapper is converted into lazy pager. That is what he's talking about here. Okay. That's what related to your NUMA. And then we have trashing. This is one of the most important topic we do require here. So what do you mean by trashing here is nothing but, see, here you please consider the global replacement, what we have discussed just now. Global replacement you please consider. Here, you people please consider a global replacement. So in global replacement, let us suppose we have a process P1 of 4 frames, process P2 of 57 we discussed. In global replacement, what we said that this particular process can access the frames of this particular process and this particular process can access the page of this particular process. Now, when this particular page 1 is trying to access the frames of P2, what will happen? There is a shortage for this particular process. Now, what this particular process P2 will do, he will try to access the pages of another process, maybe P3 or maybe P1. So in that case, what happens when they are accessing that particular frame? What we are doing exactly? We are trying to perform swapping. We are performing swapping in, swapping out. So most of the time, all these processes, P1, P2, P3, these are performing swapping in and swapping out. Means within the ready queue, we have a ready queue for storing the processes P1. But now when these processes are swapping, these are not present in the ready queue. Your ready queue is empty. And in that case, what happens? The CPU utilization will be very less, isn't it? Because no one is executing right now. They are busy in swapping out and swapping in their pages from your main memory to your backing store. So what will happen automatically? So CPU might not be utilized 100%. Now the scheduler will see, okay, CPU is not getting utilized properly. There might be a less number of processes there. That's the reason. What the CPU will do, he will keep on adding the processes. But actual reason here is that processes are there, but they are fighting with each other to swap out a process, swap in a process. They are not able to execute. They are not getting a chance to execute. Most of the time they are wasting for paging. So in that case, what happens? The scheduler will keep on adding more number of processes. So initially we have 3 processes. Now it will add P4, P5, 6. Now what happened? Now this P4 also will try to access the frames from them. This P5 will try to access frames from them. Again, these 3 pages also will be busy in swapping. Means all the 6 processes are busy in swapping in and swapping out the processes. Ultimately what happens? Again the system, the ready queue is empty. The CPU will add more. A time will come when the CPU utilization will keep on decreasing. The more the CPU is adding, the system is adding, the scheduler is adding the process, still the performance of the system will keep on decreasing. That particular point from where it will consistently keep on decreasing is what we call it as trashing. You can see the diagram. So here we are increasing the multiple degree of multiprogramming. So processes are added. As it keeps on adding, the scheduler keeps on adding the process, all these processes are fighting for performing the swapping in. This is your main memory, this is your backing store. Swapping in, swapping out. This only it is performing. They're not executing within the memory. So system, what the scheduler will think that the processes are not there, I need to add. So it will keep on adding. A stage will come, even though adding the processes, it cannot execute perfectly. Now the system performance will consistently keep on decreasing, and finally it becomes dead. Dead in the sense nothing but your system might automatically shut down or automatically your system might hang up You may not be able to perform anything. That situation is what we call it as crashing. The only option at that time is restarting your system. Okay, that particular thing is what we call it as crashing. Mostly never occurs in our system, but in supercomputers and all, like multiple millions of transactions are taking place. There is a possibility this kind of scenario can exist. For our laptops and systems, we are not utilizing 100%, and we are not creating that many processes that they can fight with each other. So basically, we may not be able to see. Yes, we will be seeing the system performance getting slower. If you are using very high-end apps, like my system is having a capacity of 4 GB. Now I am using Teams here, now but my system is getting slowed down. You might have seen many times when I click on the table, I mean a new slide, I'm not able to execute it. Okay, it keeps on scrolling. So it takes some time in order to perform. Why? Because we are using a high-end application. But if I use 4 to 5 different type of high-end applications like that, like Teams software, definitely my system will be entering into a crashing. The only thing what I can do is restart my system. I may not be able to function anything properly. So that is what comes under thrashing here. So in thrashing, we have a locality model here. Locality model is nothing but every process will go through this particular locality model. So what do you mean by locality model is nothing but it is a set of pages or frames. It is a set of pages of frames that are used together in order to execute. Like, as I told, the process P1 is given 4 frames. This 4 frames is what is calling it as locality model. Okay, so locality from one locality to another. So P1 might be using first 4 frames. After some time, P1 is going out of the main memory, then storing in the ready queue. Again, it is getting a chance, like in the scheduling algorithm. So whenever the P1 next time comes, he will not be allocated the same 4 frames. He may be allocated somewhere the 4 frames. So what happens? Initially, it might be present here, like on the top here P1 is present. Next time whenever he's coming, he might be present here. But we will be allocating only 4 frames, not more than that. So that is what is calling it as locality model. So using this, we can actually perform, we can try to overcome this crashing concept he's saying. But in order to, so this is the way how locality model changes. This is a graph. You can see here, but I can't explain much about this. This is something like, this diagram, this lines, whatever you're saying, these are the localities when that particular process is executing. So if the processes are something like, page faults, these are the page faults related to your processes. So when 30 page faults are there, this is the diagram what we are getting. So as the execution time increases, the page faults will keep on increasing because the more processes are coming, the more page faults are going to take place. Yeah, this is the main thing in order to overcome crashing here. This is important. Please concentrate on this particular thing. We have a working set model here. If we complete this, the topic will be completed. Coming to the working set model, what is saying, we will use a concept called as delta. We use a concept called, generally the symbol is called as delta. So this is what we call it as working set window. What we are going to do exactly here is that we are going to take a set. Okay, we are going to take a set as a working set window, and that set will consist of the page frame, okay, or the page numbers which have been referred. Okay, so we are representing that with the WSSI, working set for the process PI. So every process is allocated, like P1 was allocated initially 4 frames. So here the set, that is what I am calling it as working set. So that particular set consists of 4 frames. Okay, so here working set for the process PA, the formula here is the total number of pages referred in the most recent. So which page is referred more number of times? Like we have pages, like these all are the pages you can see here. So you can see in this we have 2 sets here, working sets, 2 sets, T1, T2. T1, now the working set will have a range. Let us suppose 10. In this diagram, I am taking a set of 10. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now this is another set, working set T2. You can see here how many. So from here you can calculate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so this is a set of 10 working sets. Now in this, the system will find out which particular page is referred multiple times. So actually that it will be converting into a set. In mathematics, you know that we have intersection. We have two values A and B. A is having 1, 2, 3. Okay, sorry, union I'm talking about. B is having 3, 4, we do have? Here we are having only 10 sets, and that sets are represented here. Okay, total how many sets we are having? 10. So among them, which are common there, we will be taking only one time. So if you see here, this set consists of 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. Same way, if you talk about this one, in this we are having something called as 3 and 4. Because only 3 and 4 are coming multiple times here, so we have taken only set 3, 4. So in this system, what it can do, it can try to reduce the number of pages what are accessed, it can be represented. So if you see here, there is a formula. If delta is too small, yeah. If the delta is too small, it may not be able to encompass the entire locality. But if the delta is too large, it will be what it is doing. Several localities are there. And if it is infinite, means the entire program is accessing your particular pages, whatever we are having. So in this way, we can identify. So the formula given for this is D equal to sigma WSSI. So D is nothing but the total demand for the particular frame by a process. Now this D should not be greater than, the demand for a particular frame should not be greater than N. What do you mean by N here is nothing but the number of frames what we have. Like in the previous example, we had 62 frames. Now if this particular D is demanding for 63 frames, then this will result in a thrashing. Why? We have only 62. How can we allocate 63 frames? That is what we call it as thrashing. So this is the way how this particular working set model works. Okay. So remember, whenever we are setting this working set model, it should neither be too small, neither be too large. It should be medium type. So this is what represented related to how to keep track of your working set model. So that basically, and here we have a page fault frequencies. So how to allocate a frames here? This is one of the technique used. So we will be generally use one upper limit. For page fault frequency, we'll try to determine upper limit and a lower limit. Okay, we'll have a upper bound or a lower bound or a upper limit or lower limit. So whenever a particular page is coming, particular process is coming under upper limit, we will mean it has reached to the maximum. So we will allocate one frame to it so that it can perform the operation. Okay, page fault rate has reached to the maximum. We will allocate a page to frame to a particular process. But if the page rate for page fault rate is below the lower bound, then what we are going to do, we will try to remove some of the frames from that particular process. Like earlier you might have seen process P1, we have allocated 31 frames, but actually P1 requires 10 frames. Means it is lower than, we will keep a limit here, something like let us suppose 20 frames. But how many he requires? 10 frames. It is lower, right? Lower than whatever the pages he requires. So minimum we have kept 20 frames, but he requires 10 frames. In that case, how many we have allocated? 31. So we will remove that 21 frames from him. We will try to take back 21 frames from the process and we allocate that to some other process. But if you take another process, he requires 57. Okay, the upper bound what we are keeping is 56. Now he wants one more additional frame. In that case, what we'll do, he is crossing the upper limit. So we will allocate one frame to this particular process so that he can perform its execution smoothly. So this is what comes under upper and lower bound frame. Okay, and this is the graph represented with your working set and page fault rates. You must see it keeps on increasing that. So this is the working set where this is the maximum where exactly your page fault frequency is there, and remaining all it is in a lower case. If you take this as another working set, this is the highest peak, remaining all is the lowest peak related to your previous one. I hope it's very clear with respect to your page fault frequencies and all, how we can use it and what are the different algorithms we have discussed. Well, this completes your third unit. I hope you people have enjoyed watching it. So please do watch my previous videos too, so that you people can get a clear idea about this particular operating system concept. Thank you. Thank you for watching.